excited about tonight because, you know, it's going to be a marvellous occasion, and I'm so glad you've managed to come along tonight and just to join with us as we mark the retirement of Mr. Sullivan as the Minister of Cumnock Congregational Church after 43 years. And so I'm delighted that you could be with us tonight. Before our meal, can I ask you to join with me as we say grace? Let's pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for friends, and we thank you for friendship that has spanned the years. And we ask you tonight, Lord, that you'll bless the food which we're about to receive. Lord, bless each and every one of us tonight. We ask it in your glorious name. Amen. To make our way onto the stage, we thought tonight that we'd have an Irish slant to watch the music. So the choir are going to sing Mark in the Clear Air as the first piece. And then you'll see just further down, I've asked these audience, I didn't know what to call you. I asked 1,000, well, 5 people answered. I said, what do you actually call a company of people of peers, you know, come to share a meal? So I said, well, a gathering? Company, I think, like company. We'll call them an audience. So you're an audience tonight, and you'll see further in the programme that you're going to join in tonight, and we're going to sing a wee touch of the shamrock. So I'm going to ask the choir to come up onto the stage, and they're going to sing Mark in the Clear Air.
We all send you our warmest thoughts on this special evening. The work you have done both in Cumnock and for all that has in the area is more than words can describe. The respect in which you are held is a tribute to the care and commitment you have shown over the years. We in the Scottish area are extremely fortunate to have you as one of our number. We acknowledge also the work Ruth has done, both in supporting Matthew in his role and for the work she has carried out in her foreign bride. Retirement is not the end of work, but the beginning of a new era. We pray that God will bless you both in your new future together. Best wishes, Congregational Federation in Scotland. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Sullivan have received a number of good wishes from the congregation, and they are enclosed in this folder. I have chosen 3 just to give you, to let you know what's in them. I have chosen them at random. I read them now. Thank you. In the busy world in which we live, sometimes filled with grief, most folks seem to rush on by when someone has a need. Unlike the Good Samaritan who stopped along his way, we are all in such a hurry to live each passing day. Yet in this world of busy folks, God sent a special one. I'd like to take this chance to say thanks for all you've done. Another one, thank you for being there for me when I need you and for the comfort and spiritual guidance over the years. Wishing you and Mrs. Sullivan good health and happiness in the future. God bless. And another one I've chosen. We were privileged to have such a great man of God as you for our benefit. You were always there for everyone. Good times, bad times, happy times, sad times. You talked to us, and with your help and our faith, you always saw us through these times. We also consider you as a dear friend, and there will always be a welcome for you in our home. May God be gracious and give you and your wife Ruth a long and happy retirement. You are and always will be a man for all seasons. God bless you both. I think that shows you the general tenor of the good wishes. Thank you very much.
Your sheet inside the programme, you'll see a touch of the shamrock. Now, could we have an Irishman here about singing some Irish songs? And so we're going to sing Cockles and Mussels. Now, I don't know if Mr. Sullivan ever got round to singing the second verse. He's always singing the first verse, but never actually heard him singing the second verse. But, so we're going to turn and we'll sing Cockles and Mussels, and believe me, of all those endearing young chaps. This was picked by David, so I think he was looking at Julian at the time. something nice about getting together and singing. And you're sitting here and you hear the singing, it's absolutely tremendous. The next in the programme is someone whom we all know very well. It's Councillor Eric Ross. Now Eric is, shall we say, well known in the streets of Cumnock. He's a very entertaining speaker, and I feel very privileged that he's with us tonight. So I'm going to ask Eric if he deliver the greetings on behalf of East Ayrshire Council. Councillor Eric Ross.
Thank you very much, Bobby. I hope you know that those last two songs are a bit much for me. I'm at a very bad age and emotionally upset. So if I break down through the 19 pages that I have here, you'll understand. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I remember speaking at the presentation and dinner to Mark Matthews' retiral as PD chaplain. And that evening I said to the audience that Matthew had had more farewell concerts than Pink Floyd. Here's another one. And although that is the case, tonight I'm sure will not be the last. There are other tributes elsewhere that will be paid to Matthew in the coming months. Lynn and I know Matthew very, very well. And I know him since I was a young boy in the Life Boys, and I couldn't understand why he would let me be married. In fact, he married Lynn to me, and I to Lynn. And I remember when we were through signing the register, I said to him, Mr. Sullivan, how much do I owe you? And he looked at Lynn and he said, well, how much do you think she's worth? So I looked at Lynn and I gave him £3. And Matthew looked at me, and he looked at Lynn, and he gave me £2 back. Matthew has told me jokes on many occasions. Some of the most humorous things that he has told me is of dealing with children, especially school assemblies. One or two of them I could not repeat, but one sticks in my mind, and that was he was asking the children, what is a noun? And the wee boy had his hand up. Right, what is it, Billy? It's a wee woman that works at the chapel. And another time he went in, remember Templeton's at the supermarket coming? And he took in a bag, a plastic bag, Templeton's bag, and he had something in it. It happened to be a packet of ham. And he was asking the children, can you guess what's in this bag? And they hadn't a clue. And he said, if I was a Jew, I would get into trouble for having this in the bag. Wee boy, why not? Right, Alec, what is it? It's a slate after church route. Cumnock Congregational Church has been very privileged indeed to have Matthew Sullivan as its minister for the past 43 years. But tonight I would say to you that it is the community of Cumnock and the wider community of the towns and villages that surround Cumnock that has been privileged to have Matthew as its minister and someone to be there for them, always there when in need. I remember discussing faith with my late father-in-law, John Clellan, and he was telling me 2 or 3 things that I argued against. But he told me one story that he had been told by an old woman about faith, and that was the difference between faith and blind faith is if a child is up on a high wall and its father is in the ground, the child will jump automatically without thinking, knowing full well that the father will catch it. Faith is slightly different. Faith is when the child goes up, stands in the wall, and knows that if it jumps, the person that's catching it could walk away, could be hurt. You need faith to take that leap. Now, Matthew has always been there. When people have walked away and left others standing with nowhere to go and nowhere to jump, Matthew has always been there for people in the wider community, and in particular the church, to catch them. It's extremely important to recognise that being there for people is, in some instances, very easy. When you're unwell and your life is full of problems, it makes it even more important to be there for them. And even more important for those standing in the wall to recognise that. Ladies and gentlemen, civil engineers, and there's no joke here, civil engineers are clever and able people. They build and design, or design and build, bridges, enabling people and communities to cross the physical obstacles that enable them to participate in their daily lives. Matthew, I would suggest to you, has been God's civil engineer, building bridges between people, the young and the old, building bridges between the tradition and the modern. The different faiths and churches in our community have had bridges built by Matthew, and the people here tonight show that we're here from different churches, from different organisations, to celebrate and to mark Matthew's retirement. We need people like Matthew to build bridges. But one important bridge that Matthew has been building over the past few months is the one that a young couple and a young family will need. And that's the Reverend Jason Boyd and his family will need the links, the bridges, to the community of Cumnock. And I'm sure that Matthew will always be there for Jason and his family if the bridge gets a wee bit sugary. And knowing the people in Cumnock and surrounding districts, I'm quite certain it could be sugary at times. Matthew will be there to strengthen Jason, and I'm sure give him comfort and advice at times of need. The sick and the infirm and the old have all benefited from Matthew being here. Matthew has been recognised by the community of Cumnock and its wider surrounding area, and that it was the community of Cumnock that presented him with Citizen of the Year. It was the wider community that honoured him by making him a freeman of the district of Cumnock and Doon Valley, only the second person to hold that honour. And more importantly, I would imagine, I would suggest to you, that he was made an MBE by the Queen. These are all of our services to the community, not just in particular to his church. And it's with the greatest pleasure and privilege tonight that I'm here to thank Matthew for all the work he's done for the people of Cumnock and the wider community, all the help he's given, whether it be religious, whether it be monetary, or whether, as was already said by George, just being there in times of need, not saying anything, but just being a comfort, ready to catch you when you jump off the wall. Matthew and Ruth may have a long and happy retirement.
But thank you very much indeed. Now the choir are going to sing again, and it's not that it's going to be without me, it's just that I think the last of the music. We're going to sing a lovely piece, a modern piece of music called Who Is There Like You?
believe this. I forgot the most important bit. I forgot the Wagenchini. Because it's not sitting near me, and the lasses went by and broke into a 3,000 piece. The East Ayrshire Council would like to give a small token. Matthew, we're fed up giving you things. The ratepayers can't afford this, but Mrs. Sullivan, the prizes, basically both are new. One's to keep you warm and beautiful, and the other's for the dust to keep clean. And this one, it's called a life clock. It's an Irish life clock. Where I come from, it's called an egg time. I'm sure when you unwrap it, you'll see.
Thank you, Eric. You're going to show business I'm your agent. Well, our next speaker needs no introduction. She was minister at Clyde West Church for how many years? How many? 10 years! Thanks, Mr. Sullivan, you're always there when we need you. 10 years, and before you get it first, you can't get any tickets for Celtic games. With talking an evening such as this, the Reverend Effie Campbell has known our minister for the 10 years that she ministered at Clyde West. We've had a very close ministerial relationship, Mr. Sullivan, and I know that there's a great respect between the two of them. And so I would ask Reverend Effie Campbell if she would give greetings from colleagues past and present.
Bobby and Matthew and Ruth, I'm very happy indeed to be chosen to do this. I feel like, you know, the story of the wee boy that went off to the school in the morning and he says to his mother, you know, they're giving out the parts of the play today. And his mother thought, oh, he's going to be awfully disappointed, he'll not get a part. And he went off to school and she had to meet him at 3 o'clock. She thought, oh, come out that school and he'll be so unhappy. And as she was going towards the school, he came running out and his face was beaming. He says, I've got a part, I've got a part. And his mother thought, what teacher in her right mind had given this boy a part in a play? And he says, yes, I have to clap and cheer. Well, I feel on an occasion like this, it's my privilege to be here to clap and to cheer on behalf of the past ministers and the present ministers, because Matthew, to me, has been a tremendous help. It really was nearly 11 years I was here. It maybe only seemed like 10 that I was here. And during that time, it was Matthew was a tremendous help to me, because I was a real rookie. I was absolutely, he didn't know very much about it. I'll never forget the first wedding I took. I said to the boy that was going up and down, I had only been 3 weeks a minister, and the boy was walking up and down my vestry and he was terribly excited, and I said, you're no half as excited as me. I haven't married anybody before. And this boy looked at me as only a Cumnock boy can, and he says to me, hey, Mrs. Campbell, I hope you ken what you're doing. I didn't ken what we did, because Betty McTurk was the registrar at that time, and Betty McTurk knew that I was kind of stupid, and so she had written on this great big sheet. I had never seen it. You know, Our marriage lines, those of you who are my vintage, that go that road, marriage lines go up and down the road now. And I had never seen that kind of thing before. And she had written on it and I had to sign it in a fountain pen in ink, in real ink. And I hadn't read it that, so I signed it in ball pen. And she had to send for me the next day and tell me that it wasn't right, etc., etc. And so she gave me a few lessons on how to marry folk and what to do with them. I learned over the years that the same things were happening in all kinds of things, and I would go to Matthew and ask him what had it to do about those things. He was a tremendous help to me because their home was open to me and I could go. And if I needed a wee grief, I could cry there as well, which was always good. You know, we do cry now and again, the ministers, they make us grief now and again. The lovely thing is that Matthew, I think, I'm thinking about his 43 years. It's a long time. I knew a minister that had been a long time like that. Is that me that's touching that? I knew somebody that had been a long time a minister too, about 45 years. And when the press came to him, the reporter said to him, you'll have seen a lot of changes. He says, and I've been against them all. Well, I don't think we could say that about Matthew Sullivan because his church has prospered under those years of his ministry. He has allowed a lot of changes and has been behind a lot of the changes, and it has just grown so much in that time. And so he was a good person to advise any of us who were in the ministry because he had seen a lot. I read, listening to when George was reading these letters out, somebody said, a man of all seasons. And I was thinking, he is a man of all seasons. He's done a lot in his day. He used to be a footballer. I was buying him a retirement card and I nearly bought him one with footballers on it because he was a footballer. He'd done a lot, but what I remember him particularly was he also was so well liked among the young people because he taught in the school, RE. And he once asked me to do an afternoon for him. I'll never forget it. I don't know how he did all the years he did because one afternoon was more than enough. I never did it again. The first class were all right. First year, they came in, they were lovely, nice boys and girls, and they listened to what I was told by Matthew to put on a video and then let them discuss this video. So they were all right, they were nice. Second class comes in, say a fourth year girls class. And there was obviously a ringleader who was the head of this class. She comes in with her arms folded. What are you going to do, Mrs. Campbell? I says, I'm going to show you a video. What is it? And I told her the name of it. Oh, we've seen it before. And I was just about to listen to that, and a wee lassie behind her says, no, we haven't seen it. No, we haven't seen that yet, Mrs. Campbell. And the one with the arms folded turned round, and she looked at this and she says, you have seen it before. And I realised she was getting beyond, you see. So I said, well, we'll just see it again. And then we'll discuss it. And halfway through it, this lassie says, oh, Mrs. Campbell, just put it off and you tell us how you became a minister of your old age. The final story of that one was this lassie, after we'd been at it for a wee while, so I knew it was getting near the end of the period, but she turns and she says to me, that was the bell, Mrs. Campbell. And I says, was it? No, I wasn't deaf then, I'm deaf now. I wasn't deaf then. I says, I didn't hear it. Oh no, Mrs. Campbell, you don't hear it in this classroom. She was telling me about it. And I was daft enough to believe it. And I let them out, they were the first lot out of the playground, making the noise and everything. It was a fiasco, he never asked me to do it. But you see, he was so good at those kind of things. He was just marvellous, and he was able to get everybody together in that way. And of course we've loved him because he was Irish, and just this lovely Irish accent. He wasn't like the Irishman that was wanting to get rid of his Irish accent. And he went to elocution classes and he practiced to be very proper. And so he finally thought he had mastered it. And so he thought, I'll go into a shop and try it out. So he went in and he said, 2 rolls, 2 cakes, 2 buns. And the girl behind the counter says, you be Irish? And he says to her, how did you guess? She says, this is an ironmonger. They had all their everything with it. But it's with his lovely Irish accent that has attracted so many of us over the years. I think that's how he had a bigger congregation than the rest of us. They preferred that to my Glasgow accent. It's been great to have been associated with Matthew over these years and to have been a colleague and to have joined in so many things with them. We've had so many joint things as congregations that it's just been a tremendous experience for me over those years. And I was thinking about a different lot of wee stories, and I wrote something down here, and you'll just need to wait and say, oh, I know what the one I was going to tell you. I was thinking about the fact of how well liked Matthew has been among his colleagues, past and present, and among his congregation. And I was remembering how that I had only one lady in Crichton West that ever came out every Sunday and said to me, oh, you were awful good this morning, Mrs. Campbell. And when she died, I never had anybody else. and I was thinking, I don't think that would happen to Matthew. I'm quite sure that many people would come out on a Sunday morning and just say how much they'd enjoyed because they loved him. They really loved him. And you people who are here tonight, you're showing it by being here and all the feelings that come out in a night like this. Maybe some of you have gone in and out the church and never said to him that you enjoyed it. But you've come tonight and you're able to express tonight with your presence just what you feel about him, and just by being here. And a friend of mine that's a minister, a well-known minister, that many of you have heard him, and he is Fraser Aiken of St. Columba in Ayr. And Fraser tells a very good story, an absolute true story, when he was the minister in his first charge in Nielsen, and he had a lovely wee lady, like my nice wee lady that died, who used to come out every Sunday and say, that was a lovely service, Mr. Aiken. You were very good this morning, and so on. And so he used to feel, this is great. Well, one Sunday, it was one of these services, and everything went wrong. The organ went wrong, he played one tune and the choir sang another tune, and the minister wasn't good that day. It was just a terrible day. And he thought, if Mrs. Miller comes out today and says to me, that was a lovely service, I will know she's been telling me a lie all these years. And so out came the wee lady, and he shook hands with her, and he thought, I wonder what she's going to say. And she looked at him and she says, weren't the flowers beautiful? How true that really is, that we don't say to people, I sit in the pew now. I know very often sitting in the pew, but I sometimes sit in the pew. And I sit in the pew, I think, oh, it's awfully hard. Wonder how anybody ever comes to the church. And sometimes, well, well, it's maybe not as bright as it is, but sometimes it's very good and you still shake hands with the minister and you just say good morning and you don't maybe let them know how much you have appreciated it. But I'm sure over the years that many of you have said to Matthew, and the very fact that we're all here tonight is telling him it's not just the flowers that are beautiful, but it's been great to be associated. I feel it's been great for me and for my colleagues to be associated with Matthew, to have someone with that tremendous background and that tremendous service that he has given to this place. And mind you, he didn't get the accent. I don't know how he didn't get the accent after having been in Cumnock. I was only in Cumnock 10 years and I can talk broad Cumnock here. But he has got all the rest of it. He's got everything else that's been passed on from this community because he has given so much to the community. You have been able to give so much back to him. And so tonight, as we gather here, if we haven't said to him, as we've gone out of the church, or if in other times I have taken all his help over those years, and I'm sure I've never ever really said thank you very much, but we're all getting the opportunity tonight, and we say thank you very much, Matthew and to Ruth, for all your friendship to us and for all that you've meant to us over the years. Thank you.
Passport control, just let us know. It's been marvellous having you with us. Thank you very much indeed. Now, over the years, the Cumnock Church and the Rosslyn Congregational Church have had a very close relationship. And it started when Mr. Sullivan was a youngster and used to take the seaside mission up in Rosslyn, and he worked alongside the Reverend Dean Thompson up there. And from that, there was a very close relationship, a bond formed, and over the years there was a great closeness between the churches. And tonight, at Rosslyn Congregational Church, I'm going to make a small presentation to Mr. Sullivan, and the President of the Church, Mrs. Frances McPherson, is going to do that now.
It's just as well because I couldn't compete with those other speakers that I've done before, but I wanted to bring the good wishes of our Rosslyn Church.
Yes.
I feel it's I've been privileged to be a part of this gathering tonight, and as Bobby has said, there's been a long and happy link with our churches over all these long years. So on behalf of our congregation and our friends, I would like to accept this gift. And with it, it comes with many wishes.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to see you tonight. You're the oldest member of our Rosslyn Church.
Well, I'm not going to say I'm the oldest.
You've been there since your primary school. It's been wonderful to come down. We spent about 30 years doing seaside mission work in the church, and it was wonderful memories. Yes, indeed.
So, my very best wishes to you.
Thank you very much indeed.
One was the same one in the room that Mr. Sullivan took for him. So it means, Father Sullivan, have a good night and a long retirement. Retirement, what's that?
Celebrate,
You've been a pilot and you are executive producer for STV, for religious programming, and I think you are a producer of a program with the Mary Slessor. And so you've had vast experience of many facets of media work, and it's really a pleasure to have you with us tonight. Again, you've had a lot of dealings with Mr. Sullivan over the years during the old Congregational Union and indeed the Congregational Federation, and we're delighted that you can come here tonight and bring the greetings and speak about all time, for all time's sake, Reverend Dr. Nelson McGee.
All right, yes. What a great night on that. And a great Irish night as well. Why that should be, I don't really understand. I was hearing, Matthew, about this dear old Irishman who was near the end of his days at a nursing home, and he was desperate to learn the Irish Gaelic. And he had a tutor come in and he practiced and he did it as hard as he could. And the nurses, of course, thought, no, we must find out about this. So they said, why are you so desperate to learn the Irish Gaelic? Oh, he said, it's simple. Don't you know that's the language they speak in heaven? Oh, the nurses thought, well. Then one of the wee troublemakers once said, but what happens if you don't make it to heaven and you go to the other place? Oh, he said, I'm an awkward English speaker. Anyway, that was a lovely meal, and particularly what was that pudding called? That pavlova pudding, it was lovely. And I was just thinking of the troubles these teachers have nowadays with their young charges, and this teacher was trying her best to help this wee boy with his manners, because they have no manners, they just eat this and eat that, you know. And he was wiring into his pavlova cake at the school dinners, and the teacher, she said very kindly, would you like another helping of pavlova cake? So he's stuffing his face and he says, without looking up, he says, no. The teacher, she was very her best, you know, these teachers. She says, no what? Meaning, no thank you, no miss. No what I knew, he says. Anyway, it's not the news that I'm going to be talking. You've heard, you know, Matthew, he doesn't need any words from me. He's got that behind him. He's done his stint, and now he's retiring. And all I would like to do, Matthew and Ruth, is to remind you of these wonderful words of Robert Browning. They're so wonderful. I wrote them down, and just in case I would forget them. But Matthew, listen to this. Grow old along with me. That's good. Grow old. But I'm going to grow old too. He's going to grow old. So we're both going to grow old. Grow old along with me. The best is yet to be. The last of life for which the first was made. Other times are in his hand. He said, a whole I plan. Youth shows but half. Trust God. See all, nor be afraid. These are words for you and I to live with in the days to come. Because you already have a wonderful motto in the borough of Cumnock. Product in progress. progressing on higher and better and stronger, and going to be available always for the work of the kingdom. All the best, Matthew and Ruth.
Thank you very much, Nelson. Now it's the amateur's turn. I've been surrounded with, such marvellous speakers. You get up to speak and you say, how did I get landed with this? But as a church, we're so proud of our minister. And I'd just like to start, and before we start, just a Scotch rumour that's been around. It said this, that just after the minister had announced his retirement, he went to visit a family in Cumnock. And as we're sitting round just talking about the old times, the minister looked at his watch and he decided it was time to get up. So as he rose to get up, the gentleman in the house said, well, Minister, we're going to miss you when you retire, because we didn't care what sin was to you came. It was Richard Bottle who says, speak not because you must say something, but because you have something to say. And I have something to say tonight about the Reverend Matthew Sullivan. I came across this man as a schoolboy, I think I was about 11 or 12, and he used to teach RE over in the old parish buildings up in the Bar Hill, and I was in first year at the academy. And he must have recognised the face from the life boys, because he used to send me across the road to the other side to get the hymn sheets, the song sheets. And funnily enough, it always took me just about 2 minutes before the end of the period to get back with him. And so every week I was sent along to get the hymn sheets. So I've known Mr. Sullivan for about 38 years, man and boy. And so I feel I have something to say about him. Mr. Sullivan, Matthew Sullivan, is a man of fun. Religion to him was to be enjoyed. The good book says, rejoice and be glad, and Matthew Sullivan followed that to the letter. He was never happier when he was kicking a ball in the football field, surrounded with wee boys trying to get it off him. And he wasn't apt at putting the boot in occasionally, and wasn't just too ambitious and liable to get the ball away from him. But he was always happy when he had a ball at his feet, and at Sunday school trips you used to see him chasing after him to get the ball. You'd also see him surrounded with kids who were trying to get a cuddy for the minister, up in the bar with the kids hanging off. And that's when Matthew Sullivan was at happiest. His way with young people went a long way in encouraging the number of young people that come into the church and that come into organisations. They knew when they saw the twinkle in the eye, they heard that infectious laugh, that there was something up, there was something going to happen. And I can still remember a youth fellowship, and it would turn just after the evening service. And we used to get into the mansion for the youth fellowship, and we'd sit and we'd exchange stories and we'd just discuss matters. And at the end of the night, out came the biggest lemon meringue pie you ever saw. And it was the best tasting, I've never tasted a better. And Mrs. Sullivan's lemon meringue pie, I just wonder why I actually went to the youth fellowship. Was it for the discussion or was it the lemon meringue pie? But let me tell you this, I was 35 when I left the youth fellowship. I look back at the times of fun and joy that we've had in the church, and I think way back in the early 70s when they built the big hall, and I was just an apprentice at the time, just a mere boy, and I worked along with wee Jim McHill and Hugh Fitch, and it was just a time when everybody just mucked in and got on with it. I can remember this man with his sleeves rolled up, pushing a bar of cement up to the bricklayers, up to John Weir, the bricklayer, and many a laugh we had at that time. I remember near the end when things were getting painted, the minister was up the ladder and he was painting away a lovely yellow emulsion. And it was this fella down below just painting too. And suddenly there was a screech and the minister slid across the wall. He went that way and the paint went that way. And it covered the wee chart down below in yellow emulsion. I know it's true because that was a wee chart. And I actually ended up going home with Jim Lee's boiler suit on, which was about 3 times too big for me. And Mrs. Sullivan was left to do the washing up to try and get the emulsion out the jeans and the jumper. So, and every time I think about that, we'll reminisce a few times and we still have a laugh about it. The minister slid one way and the paint went the other. You know, when things needed to be done, he was there. He wasn't frightened to get the sleeves rolled up and really get into the work. But I can just say that he was a man of fun. He really enjoyed life. And that enjoyment of life has never diminished. But Matthew Sullivan was a family man, a man of the family. And I know he's immensely proud of Ruth and David. And I know that he's very grateful to his wife Ruth, who supported him over 43 years of a marvellous ministry. And, you know, I think it's been more like a team ministry. Mr. Sullivan preaching, Mrs. Sullivan organising, because he was never the best organiser. So, Mrs. Sullivan was always there behind organising. David would be playing the organ, and Ruth would be keeping them all, everyone right. And so it was really a team ministry. And the delight of being with the family was something that he really cherished. And the problem was that he was never in too often. He was always out in the pad, he was always out visiting people. But when he was in, when the family unit was together, that was when he was really at his best. He really delighted in being with the family. But I feel Mr. Sullivan has a larger family. He had the church here in Cumnock. And many a time there was a calming word, there was a supporting hand on the shoulder, just to lift people up. And he brought a new perspective into situations. Just at times you were so uptight, you know, the old timer would come in with that simple word just to calm down the situation. There was that caring touch of one who had a special relationship with his people. And you know, he took great delight in the successes of the young people in the church, the winning of the trophies, the examination successes that they had, the job promotions, and many a Sunday he would just say, you know, it's been good that such and such has gained a degree, it's good that they've got this job promotion. He took great pride in the successes of the young people. And I know that young people, they never forgot it. And years later, they still remember that caring concern that was shown for them. The fierce pride of someone who made them feel very, very special. He was a man of fun, he was a man of the family. He was a man of faith. A man of faith. 1955, when Mr. Sullivan was ordained and inducted as minister of our church, you know, the members of that time must have wondered, what are we getting here? A young Irishman, 25 years of age, his first church. I wonder, what are we getting? And I know that it didn't take long for them to find out what they were getting. They were getting a man who was totally committed and totally dependent on God. His was the sort of ministry that made the recording angel think of taking up shorthand. Because he was everywhere. He was involved in setting up the Life Boys, the company secretary of the Boys Brigade, the Girls Brigade, Meals and Wheels, and the list could go on and on. And yet, he still had time for the individual. And there's not many homes within our community tonight that hasn't felt or experienced that caring touch of Matthew Sullivan. And as a church, we were so proud when he was awarded the MBE from Her Majesty the Queen. So proud when Cumnock and Doon Valley recognised him and for the contribution he made to the community. freeman of the district. And as Eric said earlier, there was only 2 people have received that. One was Douglas Hemmings, the Chief Executive of Cumnock Valley, and the other one, Matthew Sullivan. You know, someone said this, that kindness planned for tomorrow doesn't count today. Kindness planned for tomorrow doesn't count today. And that was the secret of Mr. Sullivan's ministry. It was spontaneous. He was where people needed him. He was where he was needed, and he gave all he had. And that's why he's so loved and so respected by the people in the church and by the people in the community. He gave without counting the cost. And so tonight we've gathered as members of Cumnock Congregational Church. We've come as friends. We've come from the wider community just to say thank you for a job well done and say thank you for a life that was well lived. And it's with great pride tonight that I present you, Mr. Sullivan, with this gift on behalf of the church and on behalf of the community. Because Marty Sullivan, thank you for caring about us. Thank you for being with us for 43 years. And tonight, may I, on behalf of everyone here, just say, I hope that you and Mrs. Sullivan have every happiness in your new home, and I hope you go on with the neighbours.
Well, on behalf of my wife and myself, thanks very much. This is a celebration. The minister had got up after this, still on his feet after the service was over, and he said, I have something to tell you. I got a call from Jesus, and I've got to move off to another parish. And he got tied up in words and was a bit emotional. And he said, is there someone who would suggest a hymn that we could sing? And somebody did. What a friend we have in Jesus. I think by the end of 43 years, perhaps maybe people are saying what a friend we have in Jesus. I do remember, Effie, that when preaching one Sunday, before the service came on, I inadvertently tore up the sermon. And I got up in the pulpit that Sunday morning and I said, friends, very often after the sermon's over and the service is over, I tear the sermon up. But I said, I thought I would try it the other way around this morning. And somebody who went out the door said to me, tear it up more often. They actually did say about the chap, the minister who went into the pulpit, his face bathed in plasters. And they said, well, what really happened to you? Oh, he said, well, I was really meditating on the sermon, and I cut myself shaving. And they said to him, well, if you would sort of meditate on your shaving and cut the sermon. I think the people that you do remember are the people who say to you, that was shocking, that was awful, that was terrible, and you'll remember it for a lifetime. But I'm honoured, and it's been my privilege and my joy just to be minister of the church. I used to belong to the common room at university and look to see if my name was on the team sheet. And I played for the first team at university, but you always had to go along and see whether you were picked for that week or not. And it was nice to see your name on the team sheet, just to be one of the team and be chosen to play. And I think sometimes in ministries like that, it's you're simply chosen to be part of the team. And I've always felt that, you know, if you were just simply depending on me, you would get nowhere. Indeed, in our church, we have this saying that, you know, it's tremendous how that in our own congregation that chaos seemed to come into order. And I think that was quoted by James in his writing. No, it wasn't himself. Somebody writing about me the other day quoted that fact that we seem sometimes to move from chaos to order. It's a wonderful thing to happen because you realize where the source of inspiration comes from. It comes from above, and it's not ourselves, and you get on with the work, but it's a team product. And I think it's the total congregations in Cumnock, along with the ministry, could move Cumnock and district. That's a fact, simply by being part of the team. But some people, just like the wee fella that runs on occasionally when somebody gets injured, and then back off the pitch again. So many people are sitting as spectators. It's when we become involved, and we had so many people who were totally involved, and the dedication that I found in people actually was tremendous over the years, and you could let things run on because you knew it was in safe hands. We've been surrounded tremendously by people with tremendous gifts, and I think that's the secret really of church life, not just in the guy in the middle. It's simply sort of the people forming that really team and playing the game of life. You're needed, just as I was needed amongst it all. And I just feel part of a great team of people. And I'm honoured really. I was honoured actually to come to Cumnock. It seemed almost by accident that it happened. A change of a minister coming to Cumnock who should have been going to Muirkirk. And he knew me and just dropped my name. And this big, tall, Irish, dark-haired young fellow came up, 25 years of age. They didn't know very much about him at all. And in a fortnight after preaching, I was sent this letter to come along and be the minister. I was privileged, always privileged to see people getting into a dark hole of despair, a hell of despair, and climbing out of it. And just to stand back and watch the reflection of Christ in other people's lives. And that's what influences a minister. It's not just what he does at all. I was just part of a team. And you know, there were so many people whose prayers made a big difference. I'll tell you one thing that made a big difference. It was when David just had his accident, and I remember St. John's was phoning me all the time saying, "How is he?" And the prayers of the people of God were going out, and it made that tremendous difference. And it was just simply belonging to a community that cared. And that's how we felt about it. And right throughout our lives, we've been privileged and had that joy of simply being amongst you and sharing and caring with you. It's always nice simply to find that East Ayrshire have been there just simply giving its thumbs hit with so often actually on the sideline. Nice to have taken part in community things, sharing in a ministry at the moment which is taking in all the churches. That's tremendous. But I feel very nervous tonight because I'm like the chap who was very nervous, the Irishman who he was so nervous that he had a gun under his pillow, and he was listening always to sounds, and he heard a sound at the bottom of his bed, slipped out his gun and shot, and smashed and shattered his toe. And he said to himself, you know, it'd been terrible if I'd got in the bottom of the bed tonight. This big centre half, you see, I was a stopper. That's what they call the old centre half, a stopper. And I really tried only to live up to my name. I just believed that there should be nobody get between me and the goalkeeper. And they said the only compensating factor was that I lifted them up and put the bones together and said, sorry. And you know, this factor of simply not only being big Matt Sullivan, they would say, the minister's got God on his side. And he would never put me up because of the halo. Sorry. He kicked the head of you, they said, you know. But it was always wonderful. Charity was one of the team over there at one time, and so many people. That was a tremendous thing. And Ruth actually was doing a project, big school, and it was actually about the Barony Pit. And they were so kind to her, giving her charts on the wall and so on. And they would say to the men who went down the pit shaft, minister's daughter. And they said, who's your father? He kicked the leg of me. Completely getting that. I was also the fellow who was known as one song, one Irish song that I knew, you know, Dublin's first city, where the girls. It was talking about a man actually who, you know, sang Danny Boy. Everything he went to, whether it was a wake, or whether it was a concert, whether it was a caling, everything he went to, actually, he sang Danny Boy. So once he was invited out to sing, and he said, well, I'm not singing. He said, I'm not going to sing Danny Boy. I've given it up. Really given it up. He said, I'm scuttering with it. I've sang it all the time. I'm giving it up. But the fellow was bad at arithmetic, and even when he wanted to count to 20, he had to take his socks and shoes off to be able to count to 20. He said, I've got another song. 10 green bottles hanging on the wall. 10 green bottles hanging on a wall. And if one green bottle should accidentally fall, there would be Danny Boy. Well, I never could do without Ruth here. She's always been most supportive, especially when I was working a double job at school and church. It was quite a life to live, but always behind the scenes there was the jacket held up and everything ready for me when I got home for a funeral or whatever. And it was certainly a very busy schedule. And I've got a wonderful daughter as well. She's my confidant, she's my counsellor. She's the one that tells me at times what I should have been doing or should do. But I wouldn't be without her for the world. And then what can I say about David? I mean, he's been part of a ministry team, and just what he's done for the church and music. I always remember this little boy at the age of 12 when the Kirk had put an advert in the newspaper saying they were looking for an organist, and he said to me, Dad, do you think you should apply for it? I said, well, David, if you would like to apply for it, you apply for it. But there was nobody else accepted it when he took it on, so I mean, and he's been there for 21 years doing that. And then Gillian came along. He was supposed to be teaching her music, but she's been very supportive and kindly to us and thoughtful, and it's a wonderful team. I'm just part of the team. And I'd like to say to you tonight, thanks for everything. Appreciate the gifts. But appreciate too that love and that understanding and that caring that you've given to us over 43 years. It's been wonderful. I'll tell you my age, will I? You know, people just think I'm, you know, just in a few days' time, I'll be 69. To give over. Could I just simply say, Jason Boyd's coming, and this morning I got a phone call. Yesterday I got a phone call. Part of that team, you know, yesterday it was Jason. He was just an excited schoolboy saying the baby has arrived. Naomi Abigail, a little girl. So there you are, a new little child coming to the men's in Cumnock. I'm sure you'll have something in common with Duncan here. That little boy, Callum. But I want to say to my colleagues, thanks very much for everything. I want to say from our churches represented here that take my thanks and gratitude back to the churches. And I want to thank those who have travelled a long distance to be here. Thanks very much indeed.
It's my very pleasant duty, Mr. and Mrs. Sullivan, on this, ladies and gentlemen, to propose a vote of thanks tonight. This has been a wonderful night. We've heard tributes to a remarkable man, we've had good fellowship, we've had humour, plenty, music and food. It's been fun, it's been a therapeutic night, because laughter has a therapeutic, has a good effect on people. It cheers them up and sets blood flowing. In fact, you're not giving a medical lecture when it comes to that. It is well known that nothing worthwhile is achieved in this life without commitment, cooperation and communication. And we are deeply indebted to many people who have made it possible for us to enjoy this memorable evening. Where do we start? Well, our thanks are due to the education authorities for the use of the Academy and to the community services for the loan of the tables. Bobby mentioned Billy Smith, and I'm afraid I made a note down the margin here about Billy putting up the notice about Clubber Sullivan, and congratulations. Now, I said to myself, Billy, you have put your life or your legs in jeopardy here. You may get sued or you may get clubbed. So, our thanks to Billy for his help. Flowers. The table flowers were display arranged by Mrs. Marlon Thompson. Marlon is a member of our church choir, and she is responsible for arranging the flowers at the church every Sunday morning. The table place names were beautifully written by Mrs. Reese Wilkie and her daughter Katie. Now, there's a song called Trees. The first three verses begin, and I'm not going to sing it to you. I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree. Tonight, insert the word flower instead of tree. A flower is the handiwork of God. And the floral display provided by, which we have behind us, provided by Mr. Bill Stafford of Eastshire Council, is absolutely beautiful. The background, the scenery in the background just finished the talk. You know, the flaming tower of Pisa, not pizza. I now come to the meal, and I must be careful here not to sound like a member of the panel from MasterChef, or in my case, can't cook, won't cook. The service was good, presentation 10 out of 10. I went through the description of the soup or the juice, but the meal was a treat, and our thanks to Stable for all their food and good meal. Music is an international language. It transcends borders and barriers. It is understood by everyone. There's music for every emotion and mood, and tonight it has been praise and joy and plenty. Now, the art of music is related to the science of mathematics. So I say to the boys and girls of the choir and members of the boys brigade from Sullivan, congratulations, you have passed your A-level maths. You get top marks tonight. We can't forget David at the piano. David is our director of music, and Mr. Sullivan touched on the dreadful accident David had a number of years ago, and I made a note about that too. How David overcame his handicap through prayer and faith, and we thank God for that. One of the most important things in life is to have friends who will support you and encourage you along the way when life gets tough, when the going is rough. And the speakers we've had here tonight are such people to Mr. Sullivan. And we thank them for their glowing tributes and the humorous tributes as well they have paid to our friend and minister. Thanks are due to Bobby for making contributions, the presentation of the cheque, and his appreciation of Mr. Sullivan. And also to the hard work that Bobby has done in organising the dinner tonight. Now, you may not like me to say that, but he has been a tower of strength. And also thanks to Catherine Aiken. Catherine is a new treasurer, and she was thrown in at the deep end, and I don't think she quite realised the work that was going to be involved in handling all the tickets and all the money. Is that right, Catherine? Well, thanks also to Jim Harris, and to Chris Down, and Reece Doherty for helping in the committee, and to all the deacons for the part that they've played. Our thanks also to David Hastings, for David was responsible for printing the programme using his computer to do so. Our thanks to everyone, individuals and all various churches for the good wishes and donations, and especially to Uptrossen for coming here tonight. As Mr. Sullivan said, there's a special relationship to Uptrossen and coming. And of course, I must thank you, the audience, for coming along. It's good to give thanks to the Lord for his love endures forever, and we thank him for the marvellous ministry of Mr. and Mrs. Sullivan. Seem to be taking words out of my voice, but fancy. It's been a team ministry. Behind every good man, there is a good woman. Who is the manager and who's the player? Well, I don't want to say, I make it blunt. But they're both with the master coaches team, they're both playing their part. And we pray that it will be blessed with good health and happiness to enjoy a richly deserved retirement. So I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to show your appreciation in the usual manner.